We're going to bring General John Hyten on, who is the namesake of our award. This is the Hyten Award. I'll say real quickly, General John Hyten was the vice chairman of the Joint Chiefs until recently, and he was one of the guiding forces that helped set up the Space Force Space Command originally. And we honored him back in July with Sir Richard Branson and others, et
Back at
cetera.
the beginning of the summer,
With his service, et cetera. And he very graciously has agreed to be the namesake of this award.
Awesome.
And so he has selected someone that we would like to have Ken help present this award to. So when they come on, we'll have General Hyten come on, and then after that, we'll have Robbie Schingler of Planet, who is our recipient, and then ultimately they'll have a little conversation afterwards and talk about how we got here, how Robbie got here, et cetera. But Ken, if you would, if you would give us your thoughts a little bit about the John Hyten Award and this notion of leadership in space. This is an area of your area of expertise. I'd love for you to just provide a couple of words while we wait for General Hyten to join us.
Yeah, I'll tell you, on behalf of all of us at Comtech, on behalf of AFS, I think that General Hyten's I'm thrilled to be part of the team that's introducing him, honoring him, the namesake of our AFS Leadership Award. We all know that John Hyten served as the 11th Vice Chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, but I'll tell you, David, the place he really earned my respect, and I've known, when you're in the business 43 years, you get to know people, and you become you bump into people and you engage with people in a significant way. I can tell you that importantly, General Hyten, he ran the Joint Requirements Oversight Council that oversees all military acquisitions, and that's a position that he really fully leveraged. He's an engineer. He's a bold thought leader. He's an appropriate critic. From time to time of the plotting timelines, the all too often the overly risk-averse policy, practice, and acquisition culture that's working to develop next generation technology-enabled warfighting capabilities. And he earned my deepest respect. I think he earned some universal respect by offering some much needed, deeply appreciated, by being a voice for transformational change. His contributions to our nation are just exemplary. I am just thrilled to be a part of this. He is a friend, someone I deeply respect, David.
Well, I'd like to echo that. So I refer to General Hyten as a velvet hammer. So he's one of those guys that is smooth and articulate and gracious, et cetera, but he pounds away in order to get things done, right? And there was an interesting article one time written about him, about if John Hyten can't fix it, who can? With regard to acquisitions in our military. And it makes me think of the joke where the young boy is asking God, he asked God, he said, God, will we ever cure world hunger? And the Lord looks at him and says, I'm sorry, son, not in your lifetime. And then the boy says, well, what about clean air, clean water? He says, I'm sorry, son, not in your lifetime. And he says, well, what about the acquisitions process? And he goes, oh, son, not in my lifetime.
Well, we have I'll tell you, John Hyten's been a transformational, deeply respected voice for change. I mean, we have an acquisition system in the United States that's predicated on a process of invention. It's predicated on inventing things that have never been done before. And to some extent, while that worked for us for 50 years, okay, and now that the private sector technology is accelerating at such a rapid pace, and there's an opportunity, I can use this example. I can say that, in the beginning, to use a car analogy, in the beginning, the DoD had to invent the car because none existed, okay? And after a while, they learned how to lease cars because they could get just what they could roll the car every 3 years and get a newer model. Eventually, the DoD acquisition process needs to learn to go to the Uber or the Lyft model, where they call for exactly the car they need in the geography that they need it. They get an SUV, they get a sports car, they get a dump truck. And when you think of things like satellite capacity and the areas where John Hyten has been engaged, we're moving from the age of DoD inventing the satellite to DoD buying satellites from industry to DoD leasing an entire satellite or a satellite beam to now, in the conversation that we just had with Damon and John, you heard us talk about the Uber or the Lyft model, where frankly, warfighters are roaming among these commercial satellite ecosystems seamlessly and with freedom, and basically only paying for what they need when they need it, only paying for what they need exactly where they need it, and it's a win-win for the taxpayer. It's a win-win for the warfighter, and it's a game changer. So General John Hyten has been a champion of transformational change in this regard, and he, like I say, I have deeply respected. He's been honest and he's been candid. He's engaged with industry, and frankly called industry out when we were wrong. And so it's fantastic. I'm thrilled to be part of the AFS and the award that now is his namesake.
Thank you for those comments. And we're now joined by General John E. Hyten, the namesake of the Hyten Award, the Hyten Leadership and Innovation Award. General, glad that you're here. I hope you heard a few of the things that we said. We were a little bit glowing about you. I hope you're not blushing, but we are big fans, and we're very, very thrilled and very, very appreciative, grateful that you've allowed us to name this award for leadership and innovation in space, and that you're our namesake. We appreciate that, and we're glad you're here with us.
Hey, I heard the very end of what Ken was saying, and I know it's enough to be fully embarrassed, but not nearly as embarrassed as much as I'm about having an award named after me. That's really embarrassing. So, but I appreciate it, and I appreciate what you're trying to do with the American Future Series. So it's good to see you, and thanks for what you said, Ken. I appreciate that.
Yeah, well deserved.
And then just a little bit of background before we connect you here. We're going to present this to Robbie Schingler, who you nominated and recommended that we honor for many of the things that Ken was just talking about. We'll bring that up. But General Hyten is currently leading a very important nonprofit. It's called Club for the Future. That is led by and run by Blue Origin. He's also an advisor to Blue Origin. And he is working very diligently to inspire the next generation of astronauts and other scientists and engineers, et cetera, through STEM education, et cetera, and encouraging people to enter into STEM fields and in particular into space. And that's a very important work. And I think everyone needs to be aware of that great work that you're doing with Club for the Future. And we really appreciate the work you're doing there.
Thanks very much for mentioning it, because, as I was trying to figure out what to do, I've already run really large organizations and been involved in the highest side of government. But I really want to give kids the opportunity to experience the amazing life that I experienced. And it was because I got interested in science and math as an early kid. I got interested in the space program. It drove my entire life. And if I can just get a couple of kids to be that excited, that'll be all worth it. And Jeff Bezos and Bob Smith at Blue Origin have an organization called the Club for the Future that is just that not only gives monies to a lot of worthwhile organizations, but they allow me to travel and talk to kids and talk to teachers and talk to educators and try to just get people motivated about the future. And that's really, in this phase of life that I'm in right now, that excites me as much as anything.
Well, wonderful. We salute you. And what I thought we might do now, General, is have you introduce Robbie Schingler, and you might tell us a little bit about him and why you thought it would be appropriate for him to be recognized with the award that bears your name.
So, Robbie, are you there?
Yes, I am. Good to see you.
Welcome, Robbie.
Good to see you, Robbie. So, Robbie and I have known each other for, many years. We'll just put it that way. It hasn't been forever. It hasn't been since I was a captain, because, gosh, when I was a captain, Robbie was probably in grade school. But we've known each other for many years, and I really came across him as he started down the episode with Planet. And to be honest, I was trying to figure out how to take advantage of commercial at large from where I was sitting at Space Command, then Stratcom, then as the vice chairman. And we were, and in many ways still are, having a challenge of leveraging the commercial industry. But I remember sitting down with Robbie, and I think it was at Planet in California, and looking at the capabilities that they had. And we talked about the importance of transparency and how a picture is literally worth 1,000 words, and a picture from space could be worth 10,000. And I said, when bad things are happening on this planet, if we can immediately put a picture out on the web that shows really what's happening, then I wanted the Department of Defense to be the customer that drove that. And I think there's still a huge, and we are a customer. The Department of Defense is a customer with Robbie right now, but and many of the others in that industry. But I think the amazing thing that's going on, and why I'm really excited about recognizing Robbie, is well, Robbie, why don't you describe what you did in your company? And I'll be, I know the general story, but it'll be fun to hear your words rather than me telling the word of what you did right after Russia invaded Ukraine here 6 months ago.
Yes.
And what you did, how you did it, and then I'll come back and say why I think that's so important to the world.
Excellent. Well, thank you. And General Hyten, it's an honor to be awarded this the namesake of your award with AFS. So thank you. And I think to back up a little bit, just so that we can understand the trends around where we are, then we can come immediately to where real-time information can be really valuable to the planet. Like you, I've always been motivated to work on projects of consequence with people that inspire me and push me. Throughout my career, it's really been with seeing accelerating technology and its applications for space. And so I went to undergrad in the late 90s. And so I was able to build satellites when I was in university studying engineering physics with the pioneers of small spacecraft. And this was before the CubeSat was a standard. And then after about 9 years at NASA, where I learned deep systems engineering, building teams and technology. Importantly, I learned to look at our planet from a planetary perspective and how interconnected things were. So 11 years ago, I started Planet with two of my best friends, where we saw the convergence of technologies, miniaturized electronics and high performance electronics with cloud computing. And importantly, at that time, about a decade ago, you could get access to space with secondary payloads. That has always been one of the major barriers of innovating and doing things in space. So we decided to shrink a satellite, mass manufacture them, autonomously operate them, and then build a distributed sensor network in space with the mission to image the entire world every day. And about halfway through that journey, about 6 years ago, we started doing just that. And so today we have a 6-year recorded history of everywhere on the planet. And this has been an extraordinary capability, but importantly, we got lucky with another piece of technology, which is artificial intelligence and machine learning, which needs a whole bunch of data in order to train models and understand indication and warnings, and really give near real-time information about the rapidly changing planet that we all live on. And I believe at this time in the 21st century, we need a factual shared reality for what's happening on the ground, where we can see emerging risks, whether it's security risks or environmental challenges that we have today, and to shift behaviors to accelerate us toward a more prosperous future. So we think that we're only about 1% of the way there, a decade in. And that's why last year we decided to become a public benefit corporation and listed on the New York Stock Exchange, so that we can, because we believe that the Earth observation community, which is a community, it's not just Planet, can play a vital role in helping to shift toward greater peace and security with open societies, as well as move the global economy toward a full cost economic system by valuing nature. And we need to act fast because we are in a planetary emergency. So thank you, AFS. Thank you, General Hyten, for your leadership and honoring the 850 people at Planet that has worked really hard to get to where we are today, but then also to inspire us for then the next decade to use space to help life on Earth. So thank you.
Well, thank you. And
Thank you, Rob.
I don't know if you have it, but General Hyten commissioned a award. His was silver. We've upgraded yours to gold. I don't know if you got yours, but you should around your office somewhere have that gold rocket.
It's in the office. I'm on the road right now, so I don't have it.
Okay, as long as you have it, we're happy.
I can't wait to hold it up.
So you don't keep it in your glove compartment?
Don't carry it everywhere. No. Okay. So I'm glad you got that. And General, what I thought we might do from here is Ken and I and Scott, we might step aside, and you guys can have a few minutes to maybe finish out this conversation a little bit about where you see things going, the various questions you wanted to address with Robbie, and we'll just say congratulations and thank you for being a recipient of this award. Thank you, General Hyten and Ken. But we're going to step aside, and we hope you have a great few minutes together.
Thank you,
All
sir.
right.
Congratulations, Robbie.